Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. What if I told you that abuse does not always come with bruises? Sometimes it comes wrapped in words that sound holy, in manipulation that feels like love, in control disguised as protection. You start to question yourself. Am I crazy? Maybe I really am too sensitive. Maybe it's me. That's confusion. It's what keeps so many trapped, not by chains, but by the invisible cords of emotional and spiritual abuse. Today, we're going to pull back the mask on those forms of control and talk about how to see them for what they really are, so you can begin to walk toward freedom and truth. Welcome back to the Get Trauma Informed podcast. I'm your host, peer-to-peer wellness coach Liz Blanding. And today's episode is part of our mini trauma recovery talk series on domestic violence and trauma recovery. Last time we talked about what happens when safety doesn't feel safe and how trauma affects the body and mind. Today, we're focusing on something even more subtle: emotional and spiritual abuse. These forms of trauma are often the hardest to recognize because the person causing the harm may be the one quoting scripture, praying over you, or saying, "I'm doing this just because I love you." But love doesn't hurt like that, and God does not manipulate. Let's define it clearly. Emotional abuse is a consistent pattern of words and actions that diminish your sense of self-worth. It can include gaslighting, name-calling, guilt-tripping, withholding affection, silent treatment, and public humiliation. Spiritual abuse happens when scripture, faith, and divine authority are used to dominate, control, or shame. It's when someone uses God's name to make you afraid, or to silence you, or to keep you trapped in a situation that robs you of peace, dignity, and safety. That is not God's heart. It's manipulation wrapped in false holiness. Let's bring light to this through scripture. In Matthew 7:15, Jesus says, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves." That's spiritual abuse described right there. Wolves dressed as shepherds, those who use the name of God to control and consume others. And 2 Corinthians 11:14 says, "Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light." That means not everything that sounds spiritual is from God. True spirituality leads to love, safety, freedom, and peace, not fear, not confusion, and not control. When someone else uses the Bible to break your spirit, they are misusing the word. The same scripture meant to set captives free should never be used to keep us captive. God's character is consistent. He is love, He is light, and He never manipulates to maintain power. Emotional and spiritual abuse attacks your identity. They make you doubt your voice, your discernment, and even your connection to God. You begin to question your intuition. You walk on eggshells, trying not to disappoint the person in control. And over time, you lose your inner voice. That is the trauma bottleneck. Your energy, your purpose, your faith. They all get stuck in this narrow space between what you know and what you've been told to believe. And that's where the bottleneck breakthrough method comes in. It starts with 3 simple principles: awareness, acceptance, and alignment. Awareness, okay, that's naming what's happening. Call the behavior what it is. Then we have acceptance. Acceptance, stop blaming yourself for someone else's brokenness. We might want to sit there for a minute. And then we move on to alignment. Bring your mind, body, and spirit back into agreement with truth. The truth that you are loved, valued, and free. You can't pour living water through a clogged pipe. And emotional and spiritual abuse clog the very flow of who you are. Breaking through means clearing that blockage so God's love can reach you again. Let's be clear, God's voice doesn't manipulate, it comforts. It convicts gently, it never condemns. When God speaks, there's peace, even when he corrects. John 8:32 says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." That's the mark of divine truth. It sets you free, not keeps you bound. So if a relationship, ministry, or spiritual leader is using fear, guilt, or control to make you obey, that's not truth. That's trauma wearing a holy mask. This week, I want you to sit with this question. Whose voice have I mistaken for God's? And what would it feel like to hear his true voice of love once again? Write about it in your Pathway to Trauma Recovery journal. Let your words be the doorway to clarity. Because when you write your truth, you start breaking the silence that kept you bound. If this episode spoke to you today, I invite you to grab a copy of the Pathway to Trauma Recovery book and the Pathway Journal for a deeper reflection. And don't forget to join our All Things Recovery community on Patreon, where we go deeper into these topics together. There you will find faith-based trauma recovery circles, guided reflective prompts or reflection prompts, and real conversations about rebuilding your life after abuse. You are not alone. You are supported and you are seen. Let's repeat that. You are not alone. You are supported and you are seen. Remember, emotional and spiritual abuse may be why you have silenced your voice, but it did not steal your power. You are reclaiming your truth, one breath, one word, one prayer at a time. You are recovering. We are recovering, one breath at a time. Give yourself grace and stay fearless. Bye for now. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you were collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.